Hello there, welcome to InfoHub. Here are your headlines for Tuesday, September 4. President Granger to head Ghana's delegation at Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on CSME tomorrow. Minister Harmon lays out government's sugar sector green paper at Sugar Too Big to Fail conference. Permission granted to establish the J.O.F. Haynes Law School. Education Ministry working to keep schools functioning, and Minister Scott apologizes to teachers. Now let's get to the details. President David Granger will lead a delegation including Vice President and Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenidge to the 9th meeting of the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on the CARICOM Single Market and Economy CSME in St. Michael, Barbados on Wednesday, September 5. Matters to be discussed include a stakeholders' perspective and recommendations for an effective CSME as well as macroeconomic support measures and specific key considerations for CSME effectiveness. In the meantime, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu has been sworn in to perform the duties of president. Minister of State Joseph Harmon says the government's green paper outlines steps to be taken in the revamping of the sugar industry. The minister was addressing a one-day forum hosted by the Ghana Agricultural and General Workers Union, which was dubbed Sugar Too Big to Fail. With our first report, here is Paul McAdam.
That paper laid out the steps that were to be taken in this regard. Apart, as I said, apart from what GAU was put on the table, this document, there's nothing else coming from anybody else other than letters in the newspaper. Mr. Chairman, I want to posit that if we are to advance as a nation, we have to put our issues on the table and get it interrogated. We cannot wait on a conference or whatever form of conference it is, or a letter to the editor, to put our issues there.
The senior minister reiterated that sugar is not something being taken lightly, whether it be the workers' welfare or otherwise. He noted the sugar union's aggressive representation at high-level meetings.
Consultation has always been the bedrock of what we do as a government. And so, Mr. Chairman, in addition to these consultations, and arising out of some of the foundations of the state paper, a special purposes unit for sugar was established.
The SPU established guidelines about potential investments, the use of sugar lands, the valuation of assets, and other issues going forward, the minister added. At the one-day seminar, union representatives, along with other invitees spanning government, the opposition, and the diplomatic corps and other stakeholders, reflected on the industry, its impact, and future. At the end of 2016, 4 estates were closed to reduce the billions that consecutive governments poured into the industry. To date, redundant workers have been paid at least 50% of the severance due to them, whilst it is expected that the remaining payouts will be achieved by year-end. Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
Ghana has been granted permission to establish the J.O.F. Haynes Law School. This was confirmed by Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Basil Williams. Details in this report.
Attorney General Williams said a feasibility study and business plan has been submitted to the Council of Legal Education CLE for review. He highlighted the law school's importance at a time when Guyana is on the cusp of transformation, with petroleum production to commence in 2020.
We obviously have to be able to train lawyers in this area. We have to get ownership of the industry and the sector. We have gas also. And we also have a green state strategy dealing with the environment, and etc. And so these are all new areas that we have to train lawyers.
The establishment of the school, he noted, will significantly reduce students' costs.
You have horror stories. Up to last week, several have come to me seeking scholarships to complete their programs in Trinidad at Chihuahua Law School. I don't know if you know that tuition alone is 98,000 TT dollars. That's 3 million Guyanese dollars.
The AG pointed out that Article 1, Paragraph 3B of the agreement establishing the CLE empowers the CLE to establish, equip, and maintain law schools. The February 2018 final report on survey of legal education in CARICOM member states commissioned by the heads of government also recommend that Guyana and Antigua establish law schools. For InfoHub, Delicia Haynes.
The Ministry of Education is working to have all schools opened and functioning as best as possible. This is according to Subject Minister Nicolette Henry, who hosted a press conference last evening.
Education Minister Nicolette Henry last evening updated the media on the effects of the Guyana Teachers Union's ongoing strike.
I would want to say to the nation that we will work to ensure that those that are closed or were closed today, that they are open tomorrow, and that we continue to keep them open as far as possible.
Chief Education Officer Marcel Hudson said contingency measures are in place to ensure students have access to schools and the delivery of education services. Substitute teachers will be used whilst the strike action continues.
Teachers who have been placed at the different schools with the need, those teachers are competent teachers. Actually, in order for you to enter Cyril Potter College of Education, you have to have at least 5 subjects at CXC in order to enter the college. These teachers would have already gone through a period of training, and they are at the stage of doing what they call the practicum. So they would have gone through a whole host of education courses.
September 4 marks the second day of the new school term. It is more than a week since teachers began a strike action to demand increases in salaries and other benefits. To date, government has offered a lump sum of $700 million to augment teachers' salaries. President David Granger recently indicated that the government is trying to identify areas from which it can garner additional funds to better its initial offer to the teachers' union. Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
Meanwhile, some educational institutions are fully operational as the Education Ministry's contingency plan was activated in light of the current strike action by the Guyana Teachers Union.
The State Minister was speaking on the sidelines of the GAU Sugar Conference at Grand Coastal Inn today.
We believe that our teachers' place is in the classroom, and therefore we will have to work with the union to find common ground and so that we can get our teachers back into the classroom. No one benefits from arguing in the streets. And so we cannot advance the process by speaking at each other.
Minister Harmon also restated government support for the nation's educators.
We consider our teachers to be an important asset in this country. They train our children. They make young people into caring and responsible adults.
As the GTU's strike action entered its second day of the new school term, reports from regions indicate that most of the schools remained open and the Ministry of Education's contingency plan is being implemented. The Education Ministry on Monday night reported that about 10% of the public school teachers across the country were on strike, but noted that steps were being taken to tap into a database of some 2,500 persons to hire them temporarily to teach students in affected schools. 25,000 persons on standby include retired teachers, volunteers, trainees, and recent applicants to the Teaching Service Commission. Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
In a related development, Minister within the Ministry of Social Protection, Keith Scott, today offered an apology to the teachers of Guyana. The minister said, and I quote, "I regret making such an inflammatory and hurtful statement. I have always and will always hold the teachers of our nation in the highest regard. It was never my intention to be disrespectful of or to downplay the legitimate industrial actions taken by the Guyana Teachers Union on behalf of its membership and teachers generally," end of quote. More news still ahead.
But you can't do that anymore. What? Smoking. The new tobacco laws, you can't smoke in place like this no more. You can get into trouble.
Man, what stupidness you telling me, man? I used to smoke out here all the time. What you expect me for go now?
The new tobacco law says you can't smoke in indoor public spaces and some outdoor public places. Like this bus park, hospital compound, school compound, and the stadium.
Well, I'm glad you tell me part, no? I ain't gonna make the mistake ever again. I mean, you really want to affect nobody with me smoking.
Let's all work together to prevent cigarette smoking-related illnesses.
Thanks for staying with us. The Ministry of Public Health is doing its utmost to ensure that there are enough nurses to satisfy the needs of the population. There is now an initiative to train 100 nurses per batch to boost healthcare delivery.
Minister of Public Health Waldo Lawrence explained that much is being done by the ministry to address the healthcare system's nurse deficiency.
Instead of just training 20 and 30 persons, we're about to roll out a program where we're going to be training 100 nurses. We have to do that in order to ensure that we can first fulfill our requirements. And right now we need about 1,000 nurses in the system. So we're working on that.
Minister Lawrence added that nurses who have worked abroad or locally and are retired could also have a part to play. Meanwhile, she addressed the continuous migration of medical professionals, saying that this is not a challenge unique to Guyana.
We have signed on to CSME, and that gives the right to any person, any Caribbean person, to be able to move from one country to the next, to be able to apply their trade or earn in their profession. So it's no different from Guyana. We will continue to see migration, not only in nursing, not only in midwifery, but in many other skilled areas. This has been a complaint right up to WHO by the less developed countries.
She also highlighted while there is a great need for additional nurses in the system, there is also need for other skilled professionals to work in the health sector. For InfoHub, Delicia Haynes.
InfoHub's Renetta LaFleur now brings us an update on the recently completed rehabilitative works on the section of the Linden Road between the Wizrock and Rockstone Junction. Let's take a look.
The stretch, once rough and muddy during the rainy season, is now a paved laterite road. Region 10's engineer Steve Day said the $11.9 million project covered 6 kilometers of roadway.
This was as a result of the road being very deteriorated and caused much discomfort for residents and commuters actually using the road. It started in late June and finished in July.
Casuarina Drive, Montgomery Richmond Hill and Hospital Road Wisma are the 3 urban road repair projects slated for Linden in 2018. Engineer Day.
Only Casuarina Drive has been completed and the contractor is currently mobilizing for Hospital Road and Richmond Hill Montgomery Oval. On Casuarina Drive we've had sectional repairs and this covered 1.2 km of road.
Works on Montgomery, Richmond Hill and Hospital Road Wisma are scheduled to start within 2 weeks' time. Renetta LaFleur for InfoHub.
And in our final report, let's join our InfoHub team who traveled to Carau Village in Region 7 to get us a glimpse of the Indigenous Heritage celebrations there at the weekend.
Carau's Tashao Romeo Smith applauded his council for the event. He described the celebration as an opportunity to remember the old ways.
You know, we, the younger generation, I say we are losing touch of the skills of our ancestors, the skills that they survived on for centuries, or we don't know how long, but for many, many years. You know, I believe while it's very good to adapt to this modern world, and it is still important to understand the ways of our ancestors. You know, especially in these uncertain economic times. I hope that we, the younger generation, would take a step and try to learn these things so that it could be beneficial to us and that our culture wouldn't just die away and fade in the background.
Tashao of neighboring Batavia, Orrin Williams, and a number of residents also attended the celebration.
As a sister village, we support Carau, and we are very happy at least to be here. I'm happy for the village council from Carau actually to have us as a part of this celebration.
The event featured displays of indigenous foods, drinks, crafts, and cultural wear. Region 7 Chairman Gordon Bradford, residents of neighboring Amerindian villages in Region 7 and other regions also attended the festivities. This year's Amerindian Heritage Month is being observed under the theme, Proud of Our Indigenous Identity, Celebrating in Unity. Crystal Stahl for InfoHub.
Remember to follow us on social media and our website at dpi.gov.gy for more stories and updates. We leave you now with your bridge and weather reports. Goodbye.
Yep.